We're here with Frederick Douglass, who is here for Taste of Cambridge this year. And Frederick, you're from the Eastern Shore, right?
That's correct. I'm from Talbot County.
Talbot.
hmm
Whereabouts in Talbot?
Well, it's sort of hard to put. I was on the Lloyd plantation, and exactly where that is today is sort of hard to locate.
You don't recognize it anymore?
No. Landscape is all foreign to me, and I didn't spend much of my early life on the Eastern Shore. I left for Baltimore, and I came back for a short time. But I spent most of my younger years in Baltimore before I was able to flee to freedom and make my way up to eventually Rochester, New York.
Rochester. That's where Harriet Tubman wound up later on, right?
Well, Auburn, yes.
Auburn,
yes,
nearby.
Yes. Harriet and I spent many a day. In fact, that's where we met. Someone asked earlier today if I knew her here, but no, she being from Dorchester, I did not know her here.
Okay.
Yes.
Now in Baltimore, if I remember correctly, after the Civil War, is that right? It was after the Civil War you started was it a wharf, shipping business? What am I thinking of?
I invested in a dry dock. I can't recall the exact name of it, but it was started by Isaac Myers.
Okay.
Isaac Myers. It was a maritime park and a dry dock railway marine center. And it was an African American venture, one of the first of its kind. In fact, the building is still there. They've turned it into a museum.
Right.
It's run by the Living Classrooms Foundation.
Yes, that's where I know of it.
Yes.
What's his name? James Bond, I believe?
Yes.
Right.
James Bond.
Yeah, that's memorable. Yeah, they do nice work there.
Yes. But my life in Baltimore.
Yeah, tell us about it.
Before that, I was there as a child. I was sent there. Part of the reason I was sent there was because my father was my owner, and I was somewhat of a favored amongst the enslaved, and I got it from both sides. I got it from those who were enslaved. They did not like me because they thought I received something special, and I got it from my white brothers and sisters because they knew how I was born. So I was sent to the family of Hugh Auld in Baltimore to pretty much be the playmate of their child, who was around the same age as I. And I was there for a number of years before my masters died in the plantation. There was a evaluation needed to go through. And so I had to, because I was on loan, as a human could be lent out as a piece of property, as a horse or whatever, I had to go back and be valued. Luckily, I was sent back, but then I was called back once again. And this time I stayed on the Eastern Shore for a number of years as a younger man, and I was hired out to the Covey plantation, a very harsh and mean and brutal man. And it was there that I learned to read and write in Baltimore. I had to steal my education by tricking children into learning how to, into teaching me the letters and what have you. But I learned a very, very valuable lesson in Baltimore. And that lesson was the key to freedom. You see, I was a very young boy when I went to Baltimore, and for the life of me, I could not understand how is it that the whites were free and the blacks were enslaved. How were they able to do this? I could not understand it. And my mistress, who was new to slavery, she had not been made hard by the harshness of the rules of slavery, did not know how to be a slave owner. So when she taught her son to read and write, she gave me lessons as well. So that's where I got the rudiments of my education. One day, she was giving lessons to me and her son. And the master of the house came home. And when he entered and he saw what was going on, he berated her, yelled and screamed such profanities. And these words I remember very clearly. He said that if you give a slave the knowledge and the opportunity to read and write, he will be no good to himself or to us. And it was at that moment that I knew the key to slavery. how we, the blacks, were able to be kept in bondage and the whites were free. By maintaining our ignorance, by not allowing us to learn and to understand. And it was from that moment forward that I desired and made it my effort, my number one goal, to gain as much knowledge and education as I could. And when I did return to the Eastern Shore, and I was enslaved on the Kobe plantations, rented out, I did the best I could to teach my brothers as much as we possibly could. And I was almost sent further south because of my efforts when they discovered that I was teaching our friends, our brothers. But that's a bit of what my life was like in Baltimore. Baltimore was not only the key to my freedom because I learned how to read and write there, and I learned the key to freedom was knowledge, but I also escaped from Maryland by way of Baltimore. The waterways were a key way of getting me free.
But it was more than just the rudiments of education that
Yes.
you were known for. You were known for powerful eloquence that you could pinpoint and explain to others and ask the questions in a way that it disarmed people and made them stop and think about this condition.
One of the ways that I learned this was through the first book that I purchased. I purchased it from a bookseller on Thames Street in Fells Point in Baltimore. It was The Columbian Orator, and I studied that book, and I read it, and I practiced, and I spoke, and I did everything I could to learn the King's English as best I could. And that was where I gained my ability to speak, and of course listening to others and the great sermons that I would hear at the Methodist Church and the African Methodist churches in Baltimore. There were great speakers in Baltimore. There were numerous, there were a couple of societies, because there were very few schools in Baltimore for blacks, but there were some societies that had regular speakers that would come in and give talks and give speeches. And I never thought that I would give speeches at that time. I never thought that I would speak to hundreds and thousands of people. That was not something that was on my radar. I just wanted to be free.
Yes. Well, we certainly appreciate you stopping by and telling us about this. Now, where will we see you again? Where will others be able to see you?
Well, others can see me from time to time, place to place. I'm mostly in Baltimore in the Fells Point area, doing Meet Mr. Douglass in Baltimore.
Mm-hmm.
And if you visit the William Watkins Education Institute's website, you can find out a little bit more about Mr. Douglass. And you can contact us there at watkinseducation.org. It's WATKINS, education.org.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, sir. Thank you so
Thank
much
you
for
very
coming by
much.
here and letting us have a little interview that we could share with others.
I appreciate the opportunity.
All right.
Is that good?
Yeah, that was